Okay, second set of video tutorials on the precast concrete panels for the facade in the lab building. And it's the method 2, so this explores a little bit more the potentials of the curtain wall, but yet using the rebuild family the same way. So I'm going to tap that to select all the walls in the perimeter. I'm going to edit type, duplicate, and call it precast concrete wall, 5 inches. Say edit. I'm gonna go and change the material for that wall and then call it precast concrete, and the thickness to 5. Now that assigns to all these 4 walls the new wall that we just created. We actually want to create a curtain wall, so selecting those curtain wall gives you an error. Normally it's just say unjoin elements because you want them to be unjoined. What we're going to do is go to the level 2 and just talk a little bit of how curtain walls are made. If you select the curtain wall, you have a couple components. One is the axis of how that curtain wall is drawn. You can move the ending point of that axis up and down, and the panel associated to that axis changes, the one here on the side, which is the second component. You can tap, select the panel, and it gives you a different element, which is the panel. You can actually say solid panel and give it a thickness and give it a material such as concrete, precast concrete if you want. Now that's not allow you to embed windows, which is an inconvenience, I think. So again, axis, and you will have an option of, within the panel, if I tap that, the possibility of an offset of the panel in regards to the axis. No, good. So what I'm going to do is go to the 3D. Actually, I want to do WT and have both there so we can see what's happening. I'm going to select by pressing Control each of the curtain walls, the 4 of the facades, and I'm going to make that duplicate it and call it concrete. Start with precast concrete and wall 5 inches, similar to the previous wall. And here on the curtain panel you can set it to be the previously made precast concrete. No, there is. Say okay. What it does is basically create a big panel, because we haven't assigned grid lines for that curtain wall that includes the previously made wall into it. And so again, it seems like it's the same if I deselect everything as we had before, but actually the reality is that when we select it, it's actually a curtain wall. No, we still have the axis and we still have the panel. In this case we can select it easier because it's bigger, but it's the same idea. I'm gonna tap to select all the panels around and check a couple things that we can change. We can say the location line offset to 1 foot. You see how it offsets from that axis line. Set it back to 0. Or you can change the location line to be finished face interior and offsets to the side. Good. So what can we do with the curtain wall? Curtain wall, and again, think of this, could have been different materials in different parts. We can set curtain grids. Simple as that. Curtain grid is basically a split between 2 panels. So now what I can do by placing that line is tap into this particular panel. I could give it different qualities or different properties of materials and thickness, etc. So it's a very powerful tool. You can actually do totally different parts of the wall in different areas without needing to split as the other option. You can set curtain grids also horizontally by tabbing. There you go. And sometimes, by the way, you don't see them, but let's go to the west elevation and make this the correct way. I'm gonna go hidden lines. We have the curtain grid here. I'm gonna move it, place it there, copy it. Sometimes I'm tabbing, I'm not saying it, because if you cannot select it directly, you should know that you can just select it by tabbing. Now I'm just copying multiple and making sure that they're snapping to the exact project grid lines, and this other grid line here I'm going to copy as well and just snap in. I'm going to put up there to the levels line. So obviously it's very important to have series of levels where you really know you want to create your grid lines. If these are the levels and you want them, you can also select. Let me see if I can do that. Oops, something happened there. Wait, there we go. I'm gonna select all that, filter out to select the Coulomb wall grids. Okay, and I can move them up. For example, if you want 1 foot up, there you go. So you can play with the levels and then move them up freely, 3D hidden line, and there you have all your different panels. And as I said before, you can just tab and select different panels, and just change the panel specifically to what you want it to be. Good. So at this point, another thing is that we can do is that just place windows and freely cut within the grids itself. So it doesn't matter what kind of window it is. You can. I'm putting the center because the more conflictive place, but it could be also here between each of the panels. Can be of any dimension, and it could be also only between horizontal ones, the 2 of them, or in the middle. So there you go. And when you tap on the panel, there you have your square footage and your dimensions that you can place in your elevations, etc. You see, sometimes gives you a mistake, but normally it works quite perfectly. So sometimes you just have to try a couple times. Oops. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes it gives errors, but in theory, as you can see, it normally works quite well. Let's see if it's. Yeah, sometimes gives some trouble to Revit, but I think we get the idea of how it works and how things go. So I'm gonna keep it there, and we'll jump to the next video where I will explain, well, how do we put rebuilds that measure the joints between the panels, and if we want another rebuild within the panel itself, how we do that. So we're just gonna keep it there and stop it.